Jonathan and Neil. How are you both?
Brilliant, thanks.
Lovely to meet you. Now, you both are the new additions to the Matrix. And obviously, the film's coming after a big gap, nearly 18 years. So that means that there's a brand new audience for this film as well, a new generation who, unlike me, loved the 1999 version when it first came out. So my question to you both is, because you're the new edition, what would you say is the USP of the film for the new generation that perhaps weren't around when the original came out and we were all enthralled with that cutting edge action sequences that we first got accustomed to watching, and then later I think other films started trending with that as well. What would you say to that?
I think regardless of whether you've seen any Matrix film or whether you're even familiar with the canon at all, there is definitely a current conversation about how involved is technology in our lives. And when the first movie came out, technology was really starting to expand. And so that felt like a forthcoming threat. But now that it's 18 years later, technology has arrived and it is a proper active threat, right? Depending on your definition of threat. But it's hard to not be kind of weirded out by scrolling through your social media and finding that ads are on your social media about something that your friend who's on his phone was talking about and not your phone. So it is a little like what's happening with the world with technology. So I think that kind of spin is a good jumping off point for what the Matrix, the rabbit hole in which the Matrix dives.
Fantastic. Jonathan, do you agree with that?
Completely. I feel like the first movie, with or without knowing it, was made for this current generation. And I think even the original stands up and, like every great classic movie, is groundbreaking no matter what moment you watch it. And so this new generation, I can only imagine, will be as inspired and thrilled by The Matrix as we were.
Fantastic. And my last question, as actors, you mentioned technology, and I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, for this film, the cast didn't get an opportunity to do much rehearsals, but it's a film that's based on a lot of technology for the production side. So you're really relying on all the special effects and things to do a lot of the work for you. So as actors, how do you sort of prepare for something like that and completely give in terms of trusting the team? Because there has to be a lot of trust with the production team for them to be able to say, yeah, that's okay, you've done a good job, because obviously you don't know what's going on with all the theatricals. So how do you prepare for something like this as actors?
It's an interesting question, and I would actually push back on it a little bit. Lana goes out of her way with her current style of filmmaking to have things be practical and to not rely on computer generated layers and to not fall back on what can't be real. She likes to sort of define it and then create it, and so you're a part of that process while it's happening. So even though, yes, there's certain things that are absolutely unachievable that you can only see a year later when you watch the movie in the theater and think, holy crap. But she also does have Keanu and Carrie Ann actually jumping off the rooftop of a skyscraper in San Francisco. They didn't do that into a bag on a green screen room. They were wired up on like giant cranes, with insurance companies very unhappy that this was even taking place right when that actual sunrise is actually happening. So that none of that is digitized. And I think that the authenticity with which she demanded speaks to her integrity and makes the movie, like, I think, even more impactful.
Amazing. Jonathan, do you have anything to add to that?
Also, it's so easy to trust Lana. I mean, that sometimes it's not easy to trust the director. You were asking about having faith that things will be right, but her eye is so extraordinary, and so the easiest thing was to jump into this experience because she's a very easy person to trust because she's so extraordinary.
That's a really good anecdote jump, just like jumping into the Matrix. That's brilliant.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Jonathan and Neil. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Wish you every success with the movie.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.